Hi, I'm Tim Carter, founder of AsktheBuilder.com, and thanks so much for joining me today. Oh, my hair is a little messed up. Uh, I uh, I really appreciate you joining the live stream today. Got a really fast-paced one, and we're going to cover some really interesting topics. And the first one, of course, is zoning nightmares. And then, of course, I'd love to take your live questions if you have anything about any topic. But at first, let's try to keep them to zoning issues. So let's get started first of all. So what is zoning? Zoning is it's basically a set of rules and regulations that you might have to conform to when you build on a piece of land. And for the most part, zoning is really a good idea, but just like anything else, it can kind of get out of hand. Some zoning regulations are so confusing and so restrictive that it makes it really hard to build on a piece of land. Okay, so but they're a good idea because what they do is they help preserve the value of the improvement that you're going to put on the lot. Because, for example, I'll give you a wild example. So let's talk about a place that doesn't have any zoning. For many years, Houston, Texas had that reputation that they really had some just a complete lack of zoning in some areas. And what would happen is you might want to build a house and you might spend a lot of money doing it, and then the person next door to you decides to run a junkyard, and you might not be really happy about that. All right, so zoning helps prevent that. It doesn't stop it because I could show you a couple of photos of a couple of people up here in New Hampshire who live just 2 or 3 miles from me, and it looks like they have a junkyard. And in fact, one of them is actually in a conflict with the town, and they're trying to sue them. It's a long story. So even if you have zoning, it doesn't stop. Basically it's like a speeding law. Just because there's speed limits up on the highways doesn't mean everybody obeys them, right? Okay, so hi, Steve. It's great to see you. Yeah, I don't do much cage fighting anymore. All right. Anyway, so let me tell you a couple of stories about zoning to really kind of put it into perspective and how you can avoid getting burned and basically losing tens of thousands of dollars. So this happened to me, and I was lucky. So let me tell you what happened. The first new home I built for myself happened back, oh gosh, in the 1980s. And my wife and I were looking for a building lot for months and months and months, and we knew kind of where we wanted to go, and we found this lot on this street in a very nice village called Amberley Village, and it just so happened. In fact, her mom and dad, my in-laws lived on this street, and I had driven by this lot hundreds of times. you know, not only when I was dating my wife, but afterwards. And I never knew that the lot existed. So it was this kind of a weird shaped lot, very narrow at the front, like at the street where my palms are, maybe only 60 feet wide. And then it kind of went out like this. Well, I thought that it was basically a lot. I just thought that the houses on either side owned halfway down the middle of this lot. Well, I was wrong. So the trouble is, this particular village, Amberley Village, and I think their zoning code still holds true today, they have two residential districts. They have residential A classification and residential B. Well, in residential A, the zoning code is really clear. It says that all lots must be 1 acre or larger if you want to build a home. And the classification B is for all lots have to be a half acre or larger. Well, guess what? The lot was 2/3 of an acre. So when we went to look at it that day, I knew about this, and luckily my father-in-law he knew one of the members that was on the board of selectmen or the councilman in the village, and this gentleman also had previously been on the planning and zoning board. So it was a Sunday. We actually called him up he was nice enough to talk to me on the phone, and he said, "You've got nothing to worry about because you're allowed to build on that lot, even though it's only 2/3 of an acre." Now, I just had his word on it. I didn't have it in writing. So I was kind of gambling there, but we went ahead, made an offer. They accepted our offer. We were able to build on the lot. Okay. So that could have ended badly if he gave me the wrong information. So what you need to do is, if you're thinking about buying a lot, is you must go to the zoning people. You must go to the town, to the village, and you've got to get it in writing. Whatever it takes to make sure that a piece of land you're buying, that you can build what you want to build on it. Okay, it's really important. Now, here's the second story. This one just happened, and it happened to my daughter. This one is almost unbelievable, and I was kind of almost tied into this. So my daughter lives on Mount Desert Island up in Maine, up in down East Maine, and she just bought a 1-acre lot that was on this lake up there, and she wanted to buy another lot that was adjoining it. All right. Well, comes to find out that this other lot is a non-conforming use, and it's at the current time, the way the town statutes are written, you cannot build on this lot, this other lot, the secondary one. And get this, this is the thing that's unbelievable. The person who owns this lot also owns 3 other lots that are part of like a tiny mini subdivision. And, he put the road in, did all this work. And I don't know if he knew it or not. I don't know how he got permission to do it. Maybe he didn't even get permission to put the road in. I don't know that story. It doesn't matter. But the road is non-conforming, and as a result, none of the 4 lots are buildable. In other words, if you and the realtors, these things have been, all 4 lots have been on the multiple listing service for months and months and months. And if you had bought one of the lots and closed on the deal and then went to get plans drawn and, spent 50 grand on plans, think of this, spend 30, 40, 50 grand on plans with an architect. And then you take the plans to the town and they go, we got bad news for you. You're not allowed to build on that lot. Could you imagine that? So the realtor said that the lot owner was unaware of all this. That may be true. That could be true. He might not even realize that he's in a non-conforming situation. All right. So that's all trying to get straightened out right now. And what you can do. So I used to be a real estate broker for back in Ohio for 20 something years. And so you could still tie up that lot. But what you would do, the way you would handle that is you would make an offer on the land. If you could get you would agree on price, and but you would put a contingency in the contract that would say, I'm only going to go through with the sale and give you the money if I can get permission from the town to build on the lot. All right. So that's just a contingency. They're very common in contracts. And, you would write in the contingency that if the town does not grant permission, then I get back my earnest money, because when you make an offer on real estate, you generally write a check, a good faith deposit to show that you're sincere in your offer. So that's how you would at least tie up the lot. Because if it's a great lot, but you can't build on it just yet, you might be able to work it out as you move forward. So that's that's zoning. Yes, LV, you got that right. Check planning and development before you buy. Absolutely. Yes, contingency clauses, they're everything. I mean, that's how you buy real estate. You always have to be thinking to protect yourself. You don't want to make any mistakes. Too much money involved, way too much money. And could you imagine if you had bought that lot and then go to find out after you've not only spent the money on the lot, you might have spent 150 grand, 200 grand, whatever. And then you spend 20, 30, 40 grand on plans for a house. Then you find out you can't build on it. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine that litigation? I mean, you'd be so upset. You'd want to sue the realtor. You'd want to sue the landowner. And let me tell you something about litigation. So I've written about this a lot. You can imagine how many homeowners, actually sue their builders or contractors for lack of performance or all kinds of, bad workmanship, whatever. The only people who win in these cases are the attorneys. I've done expert witness work for about 20 years. In fact, the last case that I worked on, I was crawling on the roof of the Brazilian ambassador's house on the island of Antigua. So I've done some high profile cases. And the point is that it's the attorneys who are making the money as this case goes on. And you also have to realize one other thing about litigation really quickly. This is I'm kind of going off the rails here a little bit, but it's important. If you ever think of that you want to sue somebody, what happens is you're already upset, you're mad, you think you're right. It doesn't matter if you're right or not, by the way. It doesn't really matter. I know it sounds crazy. It doesn't matter. But one of the first questions you should ask attorney in the first 5 minutes, if you have a meeting with an attorney and you're thinking about suing somebody, you have to say, if I win the case, if we go that far and I win, does the person who lose, do they write me a check that day in the courtroom? Guess what the answer is? No. You get no check. They can appeal. They can appeal the decision, all right? And then you have to go through the whole lawsuit again. They might not have the money. And even if you do win, typically what happens, I don't know about every other state in the nation, in the United States, but you get a judgment. The judge writes a little judgment and says, okay, Mr. Carter, you won. Here's a judgment. The Mr. Smith, the person that you sued, he owes you $100,000. Here's the thing that says that he owes you, and good luck getting the $100,000. That's how it works. It's crazy. All right. So you need to get educated that if you were to win, when do you get the money? All right. So it's a horrible process is all I can tell you. So anyway, that's it with zoning. Do you have any questions about zoning? If you do, now's the time to ask them. Go ahead and let me know what you want to know about zoning or planning, even planning. I'm happy to tell you about planning. Let me actually talk a little bit about it. I was in a conversation, kind of an email back and forth with someone who'd stopped by the website, and a lot of people plan. Well, you're not going to LV challenge zoning laws. Good luck with that. You have to remember that cities and towns, for the most part, have a bottomless pit. I'm sorry, an unlimited amount of money to do litigation, whereas you don't. All right, so you're not gonna challenge them. Oh, but what you may mean, here's something that you might want to also know about zoning before we go to planning. Understand that the zoning laws are not like spandex, where the zoning law, completely fits perfectly. Well, actually, yeah, they're not. Where the spandex fits perfectly around people of any size. All right. What happens is the people who write the zoning laws, they try to anticipate everything. They don't always. So they don't always work for every lot. So what you can do frequently is you can ask for a variance. That's the actual term. I was on the planning board in that Amberley Village town many years ago. I was on the planning and zoning board for 8 years. So I had to grant a few variances. So a variance is basically like an excuse. It's where the town agrees that the zoning code, even though it was well-intentioned, it doesn't necessarily meet your situation. And then they let you maybe get closer to a line, a property line that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get close to. There's all kinds of ways to grant variances. But here's the problem. You have to really look closely at the zoning code and the process which they grant the variance, because they typically will say, once again, this is not everybody, but they'll say they only grant variances if you can prove a hardship. All right, that's really an important word. And the reason why is, think of it from the standpoint of the town. They don't want variances to be like Halloween candy. where anybody who comes up and knocks on the door, gets a Clark bar or a bag of a Score bar or whatever it might be. So they want to kind of make the bar pretty high before they grant one. Otherwise, it becomes a very slippery slope. So you can get a variance often. It's not guaranteed, but you have to prove hardship in almost every instance. You have to show that if I don't get the variance, this isn't going to work out or whatever. And they'll give you examples of what a hardship is. So just keep that in mind. And, you should be able to do well, with getting what you want done. But trust me, and you want to do that too. For example, let's say you want to do a room addition. Here's a really great example. Let's say you want to do a room addition, and the size of room addition is going to violate the setback, either the rear or the side yard setback. And the architect says, oh, no worries, you'll be able to get a variance, blah, blah, blah. So, he then draws $15,000 worth of plans or $10,000 worth. You got the plans, and then you go to the zoning board and you find out, no, you don't get the variance. Now you've just blown 10 or 15 grand. All right. So you would want to kind of do a preliminary plan, a really inexpensive one that kind of gives you an idea like, oh my gosh, we need to go 5 feet across the setback line. Then you go talk to the planning board people and say, do you think this is going to fly? I mean, have you done this before? And typically they'll honestly answer you. But if you really go deep into the setback area, they would say, we've never granted a variance like that before. So that'll save you a lot of money with the architect. So just you have to understand how the game's played. And by doing that, then you're going to save a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Believe me. Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Any other questions about zoning? I'm happy to answer them. And I appreciate you watching today. Remember, if you have a chance, go back to the AsktheBuilder.com website, sign up for the newsletter. I give tips like this out every Sunday in my newsletter. And the other thing is all of the past newsletters are archived on the website. So all of that information is there. Use the search engine. The search engine at my AsktheBuilder.com website, it's pretty powerful. And the best way to use search engines, just so you know, is to just start with 1 or 2 words. Don't type a big long stream of words. Don't do that. For example, let's say you wanted to know about epoxy for wood, like can I use a wood epoxy filler? Don't type in, can I use epoxy filler? Just type in epoxy and wood and then hit search and see what happens. And then if there's too many search results and they're too convoluted, then start to add a few more words one at a time to your search string, and magic's going to happen. Yes, thank you. Thanks very much, LV. Yeah, there is a wealth of information on the website, 20-something years of it, of writing and video. And before that, 20 plus years of getting my hands dirty, out in the field. And just, I really enjoy doing it. I really, one of the things I love doing my newsletter, and I love doing these live streams now, just so you know, if you can't tell. And I haven't had a cup of coffee for 6 or 7 hours. So what you see is the real Tim Carter. Okay. Any other quick questions? We're running out of time. I've got a few more minutes. If you have a question about any part of your house, now's the time to ask it in the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer it quickly. So go ahead and chat me up here and type something in. I'll do my best to answer. I want to let you know, I'm going to be producing this Sunday's newsletter tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty good one. We've had a couple of really good ones the last 2 weeks. It's going to be hard to top those, I think. What is my main trade? Oh, that's a great question. So when I was working every day in the field, I did all the carpentry on my jobs. So I'm a master carpenter. And then I gravitated early in my career. James, that's a great question. James, I also gravitated to plumbing. I love doing plumbing work. Isn't that crazy? And I became a master plumber. I passed the exam and got certified in 1981. So I've been a master plumber for a long time. And to me, it's just really interesting because it's a 3-dimensional challenge because you typically only have one pipe going out of a house and you only have one pipe up at the roof. But inside, you've got all these interconnected pipes that are all connected to those two pipes. It's kind of fun, actually. So carpentry, plumbing, I do it all. I mean, I've done everything. I can lay brick. I can do it all. I mean, I wired my daughter's new home. I put in the boiler, all the radiant heating systems, so I can do all that. All right, we're running out of time. We've got just about a minute or so left. And Steve, you got a great question. Do you have any thoughts about construction loans? Well, yeah. The interest rates are pretty low right now. And just don't, here's my advice on construction loans. You really have to pin your costs down and have all your costs locked in, because inflation's out of control right now. And the reason inflation's out of control is because the government, and I'm not getting into politics here, you need to understand when they pass all these spending bills and it's deficit spending, it's making your dollar and mine worth less money. That's why there's inflation, because the people who are selling things want more dollars because the dollars are worth less. So you need to make sure that your costs are locked in and that you are not going to go over budget on your project. That's my best advice. Okay, we're running out of time. I want to thank you today for tuning in, and I'll be doing another live stream tomorrow. I'm going to do them Monday through Friday, and just go to the newsletter, go to AsktheBuilder.com and find out when they're going to be. Thanks so very much. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it.